An old story reads: a long time ago, as the Confederate tribes moved west, when the Lord of the Franks had become infatuated with the law and customs of the Belgians, he called 3 of his messengers to meet him in the city of Essen, and he said, "The Belgians are rich, and their leaders fair, but every one of their nations has a different belief. Travel to each of them and find out which we should adopt. You shall meet me in this city in 6 moons when the harvest begins. Travel now!" And so the messengers sailed down the great Rhine, until they came to a shore on the river where they laid camp. One messenger said, "Let us first take to the lands of the Middle Belgians. They are the largest of the Belgic peoples, and they know all of the sky and the air above us." But another one said, "No, let us instead go to the lands of the Belgians of the sun. They live by the great sea, and they worship the waters that all life needs to live." At last the third messenger spoke. "Let us then go our separate ways. You shall each travel to the lands of sky and sea, and I shall go to the lands of the eastern Belgians, who live by the southern river and have mastery over the substances of the earth, of which they grow rich selling to the lands of the Rhine." And so they agreed, parting and traveling to their respective lands. The first messenger arrived to a land of swamps and unsowed land, and so he named it Brekband, fallow land. There he was met with knowledge of the movements of the air and the stars by wise scholars of the sky. But the messenger thought the inventions of these people more wise, and of one especially he thought of much interest to the Frankish lord. See, this was a building for the wind to push large fans on a wheel that effortlessly grind corn to flour. With this knowledge imbued, he turned back towards Essen. The second messenger came to the great delta of the Rhine, an area named Sea Land, for here flowed many rivers into the salty waters of the Northern Sea. In these lands live many mystics and folks of strange faiths, experts in the seasons and the holy movements of the sun. The messenger was led to a bridge that led to a house built on trunks of trees placed in the sea. Here the smell of salt and fish was blocked by strange smokes from strange plants burning altars where many people prayed. At last the messenger came to a room. Here a person of magic will tell prophecies and stories that will one day come to pass. As the messenger became dizzy from the smoke, the person of magic told of the future. One day the sun will become red, and it shall expand to encompass the sky, and it shall heat up the earth so that all water shall turn to steam, and the sea will become air, and it will eat all there is to see. Yet the sun shall become old and weak, and it shall grow cold and dim, and the universe will be left in darkness. Disheartened, the second messenger turned back towards Essen. The third messenger came later to his goal, for he had to travel along the marshes and forests between the rivers. Yet at last he did come to the river, which in the Celtic tongue was named Maze, as it was twisty. Here in its valley were another Belgic people, whose minds were the greatest of all the Rhine. They found many ores and coal that could burn hot enough to melt any metal. These people's faith was much like the worships of the Belgians in ancient times, a veneration of the river and the sun, which they rarely saw in their expeditions underground. Many such prayers and sacrifices were said to give luck in mining and commerce, and the Belgians in these lands were richer than all others. Their greatest mine lay on a great hill on the river bank. The builders tell of this mountain that it was once a great dragon's castle, where many rich people had laid their money to keep it safe. Yet the dragon was a fireworm, and in its sleep it burned the pillars of the castle, turning them to coal and melting the metals, collapsing the whole castle into a pile of rubble. This became the hill. The great wealth of the mines of the Lindberry and the river lord's role as leader of the religion made the messenger believe it to be the best for the Frankish lord. Convinced and carrying many riches, he turned back towards Essen. As the harvest season drew near, he began sailing the Rhine. At the place they had last parted, he came upon the other messengers, and journeying together, they told of their travels to each other. At last the messengers arrived in Essen, the day the harvest began. Here they each presented their case to the Lord. The first messenger said, "My lord, the air Belgians of the Bragband are the wisest of all the people in this world. Many great inventions and discoveries they have made, which are very useful. Adopt their beliefs, and great knowledge and prosperity will come to your land." The second messenger said, "My lord, the water Belgians of the Sealand are the most knowledgeable of what is good, and they can tell you of what will happen in the future. Adopt their faith, and never will you be wrong, and never will you be wrong." The third messenger said, "My lord, the earth Belgians of the Lindberry are the richest of all people in these lands. Their prayers give them many resources, and their lords are most powerful in both realms of holy and common. I plead that you may adopt their religion." And yet their efforts had been in vain, for while they had been journeying, the Frankish lord had lived in Essen, and he had seen the great forces of its people. See, they were of Belgian kind, and though in union with the Celts of the Rhine in matters of politics and religion, they were known even among the Celts as masters in use of fire and iron, a material seldom known to the people of the Germanic Confederation. And there he laid a plan. For the Frankish tribe was part of the Confederation of the Weser and the Rhine, and about this the Lord Thierry was not happy, and so he had made an agreement with the leaders of Essen. He would adopt their religion and be loyal to them, and in turn they would help him gain independence from the Confederation. And at that time, when the messengers had arrived, the Lord was preparing to wage his war, and the old question of the Belgian faiths was no longer important to him. But he was not unfair, and he rewarded the three messengers with great gifts and the best weapons of iron in Essen. And so the armies of the Rhine came upon the Germanic peoples, and Jerzy won his freedom from the Confederation, adopting the religion of the Celto-Belgians. The three messengers returned home to tell of their travels, and of all what they had learned from the Belgian peoples. Their clans were long diplomats in the Belgic lands, and for many years was told among the Franks the story of the three Frankish messengers and the Belgic faiths. The end. My lord, yes, I have something to show you. What is it? This is a way of sending messages. It's called writing. The individual symbols represent sounds and the groups represent words. I learned it when I traveled to the Belgians. Interesting. Well, what does it say then? It's a message from the Lord of the Maze. Greetings, the great lord of the Frankish tribe. I hope this message reaches you, and that your messenger may have traveled unharmed. I, the lord of the Belgians of the Twisted River, congratulate you on your independence from those who ruled you. I am glad the many resources I have sent your allies' armories in Essen were not spent in vain. I deem that our collaboration may greatly benefit both of our realms, and so I have a proposition for you. See, send Cyclops and the Grand Army to place the Interesting.